Alrighty, sandwich between.
Stupid start. Alrighty.
Alrighty. Well, you got to let people know it's starting. Sandwich between Dan Lamort and toilet paper. It's another episode of In the Eye. This is what you get.
Why don't you put together the two things that look like they need to go together?
But this is what happens when you tell me to start. It doesn't start good. So you got to start it next time. So it's Dan and Jack, and today we'll get right into it. We have two very awesome guests. They are the co-hosts of the Shooters Gotta Shoot podcast. We have Erica Spera and Molly DeMellier. Thanks for coming, guys.
Hey.
Damn, yo,
Thanks
you
for
crushed the
having us.
names. Good.
You know what's funny is like I know all those things, and I was like, I'm gonna fuck something up here. Like there's.
I had a show last week where the girl told me her name before I went up there. We were doing a pass the mic, and I forgot it. And then I asked her from the stage. I said, "What's your last name again?" And she said it. And then by the time she said it, I forgot her first name. And then I'm standing there on stage like, oh, no. So then I had to be like, well, what's also your first name again? And then it was at Old Man Hustle, so they just went over the God mic and was like, give it up for your next comic. And then the bartender brought her up.
Yeah, I was worried I was going to mess Shooters Gotta Shoot up and be like, give it up for Shooters Gotta Fucked. Guys we shoot. Fuck. You know?
Guys, we shoot.
Guys,
Guys, we shoot.
Well,
thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming. This is
thanks for sitting in our aisle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So-
I can't believe you got Steve. What's his face on this crate?
I think that's why we got him, because you called him Steve What's His Face.
Soprano Steve. You know.
We're good at getting in people who are like, what's their face? Yeah, true story. We used to sell his tomato sauce here. There's not
What
a more.
happened?
Wait, he has his own tomato
He
sauce?
did at a period of time. I don't know if he
Like
still
the product
does.
doesn't exist anymore.
I think
Not in this store, because we moved to like one of my family members makes their own sauce, and that gets sold somewhere here.
Shit.
Wouldn't that be funny if like the sauce got discontinued and so he wasn't even allowed to make it for his family anymore? Like, that was just
This is the first episode we've recorded since after releasing,
yes.
and so now I know of every episode we released. This was everyone's favorite, flavored with meat.
Yeah.
This is what people remembered from the podcast for some reason, because I pointed out that it was flavored with meat. Because
Oh.
it sounds wrong. A woman actually
Yes.
said she would, if we made her a flavored with meat bumper sticker, she would put it on her car. And I quote, she said she wants her neighbors to know she's flavored with meat. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
At first, I thought you were like, this is everyone's favorite sauce. I was like, get the fuck
No
out
way.
of here. You shouldn't even have the sauce.
No.
Yeah.
Here.
Erica's head explodes.
That's
And
not
it's
even-
just like
I'm leaving.
Yeah, right.
that sauce isn't
First
even
of all,
as-
it's gravy. Okay.
Oh, that's not gravy.
Yeah. All right. What's the difference between gravy and sauce? I'm not Italian, so please shut on my
I just
life.
meant that's just trash.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's got nothing on what's his face's sauce.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God! But if he'll never
man.
watch this.
I asked him about it on the pod, but it was true. Like, he did the Eric Andre show,
Okay.
and he was trying to promote his sauce, so that Eric Andre took the can of sauce and just dumped his balls in the sauce.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, did that actually happen? He's like, yeah, and I didn't know it was going to happen.
Yeah.
What an intense thing to not
Did
know.
it up his sales? That's
Yeah.
what I want to know.
Yeah.
His exact quote was, I never talked to him before the taping, and I never talked to him after the taping. And that's my favorite show of all
Because he was
time.
disrespected.
Yeah, you can't disrespect the sauce.
Oh man.
Because
That
that's
is
his,
like that
it
is
was
like
his
a
mom's recipe.
That's like a line you would hear in like yeah, that's like a line you would hear in like Goodfellas. Like you could smack my kids, but you disrespect my sauce. You know,
Yeah.
like that's where the line gets drawn.
Did you watch The Irishman?
The Irishman? I did. I did.
Is that
yeah.
not how you pronounce Irishman?
Irishman?
Did you like it? Did you
did.
guys watch
No,
it?
it
It
is
was
man.
long.
Yeah, it's
You know what? I know I have such little of a life because everyone keeps tweeting how long it is, and I've watched it twice. So I'm like,
Are you
do I
serious?
have nothing to do? And the answer is yes.
Man, my family watched a movie's length worth of it, which was an hour and a half, and then we stopped.
That's
I
about when
loved
I
it.
fell asleep.
Yeah.
I loved
I
Joe
was like, I'm
Pesci
done.
with the crumpled up hand.
yeah. He was good. You guys didn't like it?
I
It's not
liked
that I
it.
disliked it, but
Yeah.
it just felt like in history class to be like, we're gonna watch a fun movie that's
Yeah.
educational.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
The weirdest part
A lot
for
of
me
learning.
was the acting's amazing. The whole movie, all even the small appearances are great. Then it gets to the scene where the Irishman's going to buy his own casket, and then the casket salesman is just Action Bronson.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
all
that took me
top,
out.
and then he's like, "Yo, what type of casket you want?" I'm like, "What the hell is this?" And then he goes to put his hands on his hips, but he misses and just puts them up here. So then Action Bronson in the movie is just standing like this, looking at a casket, looking at him.
Yeah.
It was a real weird casting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not gonna finish it. You know what? That didn't,
that didn't sell
me.
you on the second half of it.
Was that the big ending? All
I
right.
was talking
well,
so much about
thank
the
you.
cinematography and how amazing it was that someone was like, "Yeah, that's it. The movie sucked." I was like, "Oh no, it looked pretty."
yeah, good cast. Good
I have
cinematography,
OCD, so it's
terrible
good.
movie.
Like a lot of
Yeah.
the colors match. Like there's
Yeah.
one scene where Joe Pesci's in the phone booth, and a car drives behind him, and the car's matching the color of his pants, and then a second car drives by, and it's matching the color of his shirt. And for someone who's autistic and OCD like me, that was amazing.
I don't. But do you think it was even on purpose, or is that just
Probably not? I just noticed it because I'm an insane
No, I
person.
thought I had OCD. I hated the movie. I guess
Mixed
I don't.
reviews.
I guess I'm all right.
Mixed
I like
reviews.
these aisles.
There's your test. Yeah.
I have started
I like the
Frasier.
straight lines. You got the olives in.
Frasier's
It's
been
pretty
better
nice.
than The Irishman. That's been a new start of mine.
Oh, I will fight you. Frasier is terrible. I will
What?
fight anybody on this. That show is awful.
Really?
It's so bad.
I love it.
I can't with
It's
Frasier.
been like my new favorite thing. It's
Yeah.
off Netflix in like a month, so I'm not going to finish it at all.
I don't
11
have a
seasons
dog
is
in there. I don't
daunting.
give a shit about
Yeah.
Frasier one way.
I
Is this
never
something
cared
you
about
actually feel strongly about?
I don't get it.
Yeah, I
don't get it at
I had a
all.
lot of friends who watched it, and then I ate like a bunch of edibles last week or a couple weeks ago, and Netflix kind of just started playing it, and I was like, oh, here we are, and I was like laughing out loud.
Well, there you
Acting's
go.
bad, writing's good. I like a good writing. I don't care less. about
Eric
the
is like, it
accent.
doesn't have any of that.
Yeah. You're like, oh, she's looking at me like he must be a bad writer.
So we'll get right into it then.
You said we'll get right into it twice. We should have
Well,
gotten right
we
into
should have
it the
gotten
first
into it
time.
already. We're gonna have to
Shit.
cut out all the things so Steve Sharippa doesn't come and murder both of us.
Why'd you say his last name? It was
No.
what's his face?
Yeah.
You had to
I'm trying
make
to get
it
a
real.
sauce on Shark Tank.
That's his credit.
I'm gonna write a
What's his-
letter to Shark Tank. Get a sauce on there. Like, you guys know Steve? What's his face? He makes a
Shark
sauce.
We pitch his sauce. You ever want to go on Shark Tank?
Yes.
No.
You do?
This is my dream.
I hear A-Rod now is on Shark Tank. He's
Who?
like Alex Rodriguez
Shut
is
up.
now like one of the guest judges.
Who do you replace?
I think they just bring him in sometimes.
I want to know who
When
they
they need
replaced.
A-Rod.
What are
Lori
his
finally got a new dress. I want to know who he replaced.
What are his
Not
credentials?
He has money.
He has money.
And
That's
he used to
all.
buy steroids.
Ashton Kutcher's been on it, which is way worse than A-Rod.
Oh, God.
No, he's like an
I mean, they
entrepreneur.
both shouldn't be on
He's
it.
like an entrepreneur now. That's like his whole thing, I think.
If you're Ashton Kutcher, your whole thing can't be I'm an entrepreneur. Your whole thing needs to be I'm Ashton Kutcher.
He's trying to like kind of get away from that. I think he's losing his hair on purpose so like he can be people take him
Wow, these
seriously.
prank show guys, he's gone the opposite way because Jamie Kennedy was a prank show guy and is now an insane comic.
Yeah.
Did I just shit on Jamie? Oh,
I don't know
well.
anything about him.
Probably. Get him
What
on the
would-
pod.
what's your pitch? What would you try and sell? Because I feel like
Okay,
everyone who's a big fan of the show,
She
Yeah,
has
exactly.
it ready.
Everyone who's a big fan of the show is like, "Pff, easy. I know what I would do.
I have come up with 3 inventions in my lifetime that then got invented. Furious. Okay, one I was gonna put in the. Did you ever hear of that thing, the Invention Convention?
No.
Yes.
Okay, it was a thing. It's like elementary schools do
I
it.
love it.
And I was in the honor science, and you have to come up with
Nerd.
something.
Yeah.
Shut up. I had $1 million. I had $1 billion idea. I don't know if it's made $1 billion. It's definitely made millions. So I was in 5th grade, and I had just started being allowed to shave my leg. So I was obsessed with it, right? And
I hate this so
I can't
much.
get enough of this.
I like how you said right as if I know what you were talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
okay, you get a new thing. Anyway, I was obsessed with it, and I had to come up with something. And of course, I waited till the last minute, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make." And I said, "I'm gonna have a razor that has soap in front of it, and then a
Ooh.
sponge behind it, so you don't have to soap your legs, and you just soap and do it." And I told my mom, and she said, "That's stupid. Come up with something else."
Oh,
She's like, "That doesn't make any sense." But I think she was more afraid I was gonna try it and just cut myself in the shower.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that-
she was like, "That's not
That
gonna
seems
work."
like a hard product to test.
Whatever. So I don't know what I made, but then literally a year later, the Intuition razor came out, which was a razor that basically is a bar of soap, the razor in it, and you don't have to soap your legs. And you just go like this with the. And I was in Sam's with my mom. I was like, "You see this?" I was like, "You see this invention over here?"
I
Oh,
told
it's
you.
stupid.
Erica, you would have been using duct tape to make this happen.
It doesn't
so-
matter. They buy ideas from these children. I could have been one of those kids.
All right. So
Do they
what's-
buy a lot of ideas from children?
Like it's like
It's
a
not
national
illegal.
thing. So it's like it starts at your elementary school, and if you like win it, and it's like you keep going.
Oh, I thought you
But
meant
that
there was just
genuinely-
people buying
Ashton
ideas
Kutcher
from
could
kids
have-
all over the place.
Ashton Kutcher could have invested in me. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
All right. What was your second idea? then?
DNA rod.
Second idea, not as great of an idea, but it did get made, was when iPhones first became popular, a lot of times it's very hard for people with their thumbs to hit the thing.
Yeah.
And you know how they have stylus that you use with your hands? But it's like, well, who's going to pull it out and hold it because then you have to two-hand your phone? I thought of what if you made it clips to your thumb and it's a stylus on your thumb.
Okay.
So it's a pinpoint that you use
And
on
it
your
was
thumb.
made.
That's a
Good
thing
idea.
now?
I looked it up immediately. It was already invented.
Oh.
But a great idea.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah,
invention.
right.
And then the third, which Molly's brother found, has been invented and already bought by Google. It makes me furious.
She tried to start a company with my brother.
A whole company?
Also, my brother is a mechanical engineer, and he was at our apartment. And she's like, "Hey, you know the apps. Let's get talking." And he kept trying to be like, "No, I don't. That's not what I do." And she was like, "Yeah, but like the apps." And then finally, he was just like, "Okay." And
But I figured he might have heard of this app idea because he's in the tech space.
He
tech
works
space.
with cameras. He sells parts for
Smart
cameras.
man.
He's
He
a
lives in
camera
Boston.
He lives in Boston. He knows the apps.
He might. I
was-
figured he had other
Silicon
engineering
Valley.
friends that might know apps.
What was the idea?
The idea was this came from comedy, actually. So all the tolls are becoming automatic now, right?
Yeah.
So what's frustrating though is like when you have an Easy Pass, you have to have one to do the tolls, but a lot of times the price of the toll is not written anywhere.
Yep.
So you'll drive somewhere and someone, if you're opening for them, will be like, "Let me pay for gas and tolls," and they don't pay you enough money. And you're like, "Hey, the toll to get back in the city is $14." They're like, "There was no tolls." I'm like, "Yeah, there is. They're just automatic
Yeah.
now." But it kind of is something that's almost like you're in an uncomfortable position of like you want this headliner to like you,
Yeah.
and you don't want to look like you're trying to get extra money out of someone if
I
they
always
think you're
hate
full of
asking
shit.
for toll money.
Right.
Oh.
But in general, it would be great if you look up a route and it goes, "Hey, this is the total that tolls cost if you go this route."
Well, I like that.
And then here's a route that like, hey, it's 20 minutes more, but you save $20 in tolls or something. Even just for like a family vacation, people that decide to drive to Virginia instead of fly, if
Yeah,
you
they
mapped
save a
it
couple
out,
bucks.
tolls and then gas, you might be like, actually, it's only $20 more per person to just fly.
So does Waze do that, or did I make that
So
up?
Waze
Yeah.
has, I don't know how her brother found it, but he did find it because he knows apps. He knows apps.
I like how you're like getting frustrated. Like you would have been funny to see any other time in history. You're like, no, you gotta understand. It's like a car, but it's in the sky and it flies around. These fucking Wright brothers stole my idea.
My big one when I was younger was like, I remember when my parents first got a GPS. So we were going to like baseball tournaments. So I was probably 11 or 12. And I always used to tell them, I was like, oh my God, they should just bring in celebrities to be the voices. Little did I know, every stand-up comic was doing that bit when I was 12 years old.
Really?
Apparently, like I've heard, like that was like the big hack bit was like, what if Schwarzenegger was your
Yeah,
GPS?
right. It's just an excuse for
And
every guy
Waze
to-
app does that. They have DJ Khaled for a while.
Shut up.
Yeah, I always tried
I
making a
don't
joke
use
work
Waze,
on
but now I want
stage.
to.
It never worked. Where I was like, how am I going to take directions from a guy who doesn't eat pussy? Never worked. But most people don't know he doesn't
That
do
is a great life motto.
Yeah, he doesn't do that, and he openly says that because he's a king.
Yeah.
I don't like
We're going to
that.
quote that on my podcast.
Yeah, I'm a king.
Who would take directions
He
from a
needs
dude
to
that
go to
doesn't
your
eat pussy?
class that you're going to.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Wow,
Wow, what a transition.
Well,
Oh, a different type of.
I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, you should go to the class and see, like, look how hard women are working and learning.
Yeah. We're
That's
talking
true.
about a blowjob class. of
Yeah, go
course.
ahead.
Yeah.
So you guys are. How did you find this? And what is the price exactly?
Not
It's
the jobs
free.
we usually talk about, but a good job.
Yeah. Right. If we're not going to talk about real jobs, we'll talk about the blowing variety.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I have a friend that lives near a sex store, and she sent me a picture of. They just had the classic chalkboard sign outside.
Sounds
that
legit.
Did
said-
it have a cute pun on it though?
I don't know. I'll have to look at the picture.
We'll
but
blow you away. Something like
no,
that.
it just said free BJ class December 4th.
I bet they did free BJ ... class
Yeah, yeah,
to get
yeah.
people in first.
Exactly. 8 to 10. It's 2 hours.
And how much was the
2 hours.
class? Free?
It's free.
Yeah.
It's free.
Oh,
but it's first
wow.
come, first serve. So
Yeah.
Gotta
Have
get
you
there early,
seen
get a
the
seat,
room that
you
it's
know?
going to be in yet? You should get there early and be like, this looks like a room that's not going to have a class in it.
Yeah.
And get out.
Yeah.
Wait, are you supposed to teach behind that hole in the wall?
Yeah.
It's better if you can't see my face. You don't get tripped up. That's so funny. 2 hours. What do you think? 2 hours.
Well, I don't. We have no idea. We're going in.
Is there like a
blind.
networking afterwards to be able to
Maybe.
Well, you got to spend different amounts of time on there's a half hour on the shaft.
Yeah, the first hour is just like teaching you how to give yourself the good pep talk.
Yeah.
You know,
It's funny
Do you
that
ever pep
both when
talk?
you brought up both me and Jack said old school.
you never.
You don't pep talk.
Is that what women
I
do?
gotta give myself a pep talk.
What,
What's your pep talk?
My
it's
pep
not
talk is-
long. It's just like I think
Yeah.
it's just more my ADD. I'm like, okay, we need to focus now.
Wait, I pep talk. It's on like when you're going down on someone. It's the pep talk happens when you're low in your head. As the head's lowering, I'm like, you gotta get in the zone, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pep myself up. This is how you do it. You've done it good before. Don't remember. You gotta think. You've done it positively before. Don't stress yourself out.
I mean, I feel like we're gonna get in trouble talking about this in your dad's deli. But
no, maybe.
There's no children. We'll blur out their faces.
well, it's like
That's like hilarious. Like you think you're being like discreet, and every guy you've ever blown is like, yeah, she ran to the bathroom and turned on like Pump Up the Jam and was yelling in the mirror at herself. she put on jock jams for 20 minutes and then came out and screamed, "Let's do this!"
She came out with eye black on. What happened?
well, what can I say? Is not every dick is a pep talk dick.
Okay.
What's a pep talk?
Does that make
dick?
sense? Like
Wait, so if it's not a pep talk, does that mean it's that good that you don't need to talk it up?
it's like I It's a weird thing. Guys are very conscious of like sizes, right? Like they might be like, oh, where do I rank, or like, am I the biggest you've ever been with? And it's like, all I know is 3 categories. There's small, there's medium, and then there's big.
Oh my god.
Comically
Do you know what I'm
oversized.
saying? Yeah. Do you rank it that way? That's how I rank it.
Yeah.
So big is pep talk dick.
Yeah.
Medium, you're like, oh, okay, good for sex, not a chore to give head to. I don't need to do this pep talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then small, you're like, well, I mean, I'm going to crush it. Down there.
You know what's funny about like the size is like small, medium, and then what was the
Pep talk dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen
Pep
a pep
talk
talk dick.
dick.
Like
Yeah.
you'll know.
That's
when you
one
see
way
it,
to
'cause
admit it, Jack.
I was walking down the street.
This all makes sense now.
I was walking down 8th Avenue, and this guy was like, you know those like kiosks you can charge your phone in now?
Yeah.
It's just an excuse for people to take a piss on.
What was
This
he
guy was
charging?
taking a piss, and I literally looked
In the
and
outlet?
stopped in my tracks, and I was like, they can be that size? You know what I mean?
Oh, the poor guy. He's having to go out. Well, he was outside in New York.
He was showing it off, man. Like he
Probably didn't even
knew
have to
what he
pee.
was doing. Yeah, exactly.
Did you guys
Come to
watch
think of it.
Chernobyl?
I tried to.
Oh, there was one scene where the miners they made like miners dig underneath where like the radiation happened.
Okay.
And the true story was that the miners did it naked because it was so hot. So the actual scene, the guy just walks up. He's like this badass miner, and he's just swinging like a tiny dick. And I'm like, what bad casting? Like, if you're gonna have this badass guy, at least give him a half decent piece. But like,
Some are growers, Dan.
yeah, I wonder like if it affected their penises, Chernobyl. I'm sure it didn't
Probably.
help.
Yeah.
Seems like
Here's
a-
the thing. I don't know what the movie's about, but I'm going to guess yes.
Yeah, it seems like
You don't know what Chernobyl's about?
Is it a bell?
The nuclear disaster?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd say it affected it.
the end of the Russian Soviet Union.
Listen, I was busy inventing
Erica's,
things.
Erica's gonna. That's an idea you have. You're like, I'm gonna invent a nuclear lab, and someone's like, I got bad news. Already happened. Already exploded.
It went horribly. Yeah, I really liked it. It was made by the guy who made the second and third Hangover, so he really fixed his shit.
Oh, was it a legendary
Wow.
film?
It was like a
No,
HBO,
HBO.
series,
Oh,
8
whoops.
episodes. Yeah. The funniest thing is, it was all.
Hey, I
English
worked for
voices.
Legendary. They made The Hangover, all right?
I tried to watch it, but I went through a phase last winter where I was just like eating a bunch of edibles and watching documentaries.
Yes.
And I tried to watch that high, and I was like,
It's
nope,
too sad.
nope.
Like, it actually is really depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to put myself to bed.
What's your favorite edible stoned watch? I love Into the Inferno because it's the volcano one, and if you eat enough, you don't realize, but you start moving like lava.
Oh, that's fun.
You sit in your couch and move like lava.
I actually haven't had a good experience. I tried to watch R. Kelly high, and
Oh,
it was
yeah.
awful.
The documentary or
what?
the
You
singer?
watch sad shit high.
The
Like a
documentary.
concert or the bad
Stop.
documentary?
The documentary,
Oh, okay,
and I
yeah.
was really freaked out.
Trapped in the Closet high would be hilarious,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to try that.
Yeah.
I was homesick one day. They played all of them in a row, and I was like, "This is so bad, but I can't stop watching."
What was trapped in? I was never. a big
It is
R. Kelly
literally an
guy.
8 episode
Oh
song
my God, I
series.
remember that.
Like, but it's not even real lyrics. It's like, I was in the closet, and this guy came in, so I pulled out my gun, and you're like, "What's happening?"
I don't
A
remember
midget comes in
anything
at one
other
point. It's
than.
wild.
I remember watching it, and it was like right at the start of like YouTube, so we had to watch
Yes.
everything with like it was buffering, and we watched the 8-part series,
Wow.
and it was horrible. And the gun was a Beretta. That's the only detail I
Yeah,
remember.
I remember the gun, and then I remember a midget pops up at some
Yeah.
point. I'm like, I don't.
What was your favorite first YouTube video? Mine was drinking out of cups. Remember that one? The guy on acid in
good
the
one.
closet who recorded
Yeah.
himself.
I don't remember my first
we
one.
should do an updated version of that, and it's just Molly watching any horrible documentary stoned.
Yeah.
I've done drugs because of that video. That was my favorite viral video, and there's a line in it that says "Not my chair, not my problem," and then there's another line that says "Mr. Balloon Hands." Two of my favorite things.
I don't
It's like
remember
all
any
we
of
used to
this.
say in high
I was
school.
I think we were in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on tour, and I had Molly in my pocket. Not that Molly. I had like I had drug
just
in
met.
my pocket, and I didn't know if I was gonna do it because I was like, we're in a karaoke bar under a bridge in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This doesn't seem like the place to do it. I was like, give me a sign. Not that I'm religious. I was like, literally, give me
Give
a
you a
sign.
sign to do it.
No joke. I walk into the bathroom and there's a chalkboard above the toilet, and on the chalkboard it says "Mr. Balloon Hands." And I took out the whole entire rock of MDMA and just put it under my tongue. I was like, let it fly.
How'd that night turn out?
Amazing. I did karaoke with Baton Rougians, who I still haven't talked to this day. Yeah, but I would have saved it to maybe like the next day when I was in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Probably would have been a smarter
Oh,
move.
man.
You
than
just
doing
did
it in-
not have the foresight to see that as a better opportunity.
Well, I was like, New Orleans is kind of like Baton Rouge on Molly. So I just made Baton Rouge,
Oh, there you go.
New
That's
Orleans.
an interesting way to look at it.
Listen, part of being on the road is just justifying your drug use, I think.
I was going to say high movies. I remember 2 specifically that were great that I was stoned out of my mind before I took an edible. One was The Hunger Games.
Yes.
Very first one in college. And then Black Panther.
Ooh.
But Hunger Games was like, I was just wide open mouth, like drooling, but I never felt more connected to like a movie or characters. I cried. I was like,
I too am hungry. This makes sense.
oh man.
You know what I watched really high recently? Was Rocket Man, and I got really into
That's a
Elton
trippy
John
movie.
after that.
It's a
Yeah.
trippy movie.
Yeah,
It was trippy?
actually.
It's great.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just
it's
like
very
really
kind
into
of
the
theatrical a
music.
little bit.
Yeah, and then I tried to watch it sober, and I was like, that's not as cool.
If it wasn't theatrical, it would basically be Queen.
Yeah.
It's literally basically the same thing.
Yeah, right. And it came out right around the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, thank God they made this like
It's like a musical,
a little
right?
more out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think musicals could be good high. I got really into Beauty and the Beast that appeared. The Emma I was about to say Emma Willman. Jesus Christ. Emma Watson. I was about to just say
Oh,
another
yeah.
I would
comic's
watch
name.
Emma Willman.
Yeah, Emma Willman is Beauty
Emma
and the
Willman would be a
Beast.
great belle.
Yeah, that was a favorite of mine. And I could tell I went through a breakup that year the movie came out because my Spotify and review had like 3 Beauty and the Beast songs on. And I was like, I must have gone through a breakup this year.
That's your breakup album, Beauty and
I
the
guess
Beast?
in that period of time it was. I don't know why. I've never listened to it since. But that had to be the reason it was all on there. I think I saw it with an ex or something.
I'm just so not a Disney person.
Oh, me
That's one
neither.
place I could never work. Disney.
So you haven't done the Disney Plus?
No,
No.
haven't done it
Me
yet.
neither. Seems intense.
There's so many Disney
No.
movies I haven't even seen. I don't really
Yeah,
care.
I feel like people get mad when you admit that though. Like I don't really know anything about Disney movies. And I
Or
feel
like
people-
somebody I saw as a child, and they're like, "You haven't rewatched it?" I'm like, "No,
No.
there's other movies
I
to
grew
watch."
up.
There's the movies adults are supposed to watch.
Yeah. I watched Pocahontas with a kid the other day that I was babysitting because I was like, I don't really remember this movie. And then, my God, what a not whimsical, sad movie.
Just-
I was like, this is so depressing.
Yeah.
She shouldn't even count as a Disney princess.
Yeah,
Really
I-
gets no princess perks whatsoever.
I feel like
Her
when I
man
go
almost died. You don't even know if he lives. He leaves. He leaves wounded.
Oh, he probably
leaves
dies.
wounded.
He leaves wounded by like her freaking father.
I think a leaving wounded, you got to assume a death.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's
Especially-
very on the nose with racial stuff. Which I was like,
Yeah.
yo, this came out a long time ago. And it's very like, those brown people are not like us. And you're like, what?
I don't know if I've ever seen it.
You gotta
Now I
rewatch
kinda
it.
I feel like Disney movies
Watch
are
it
very
with the
dark.
child.
Yeah, watch it with the baby.
I feel like
Great.
that must have been a period of time, like early Disney movies, where parents were not doing a good job. So Disney just was putting really dark adult meanings in movies. Be like, your parents
Yeah.
probably aren't going to teach you this. So here you go.
They're
Here's
also
a-
hiding a lot of sex stuff in the movies too.
Yeah.
Well, come on. If you had to draw the Little Mermaid forever, I'd throw a dick in there.
But my mom
Mystical
said that.
creatures.
She was like, a lot of cartoons used to put stuff in for the adults. She was like, you could
Oh,
tell
yeah.
like when you're
Yeah.
watching it that like they're doing something to make you laugh. Like the fact that on the Rugrats, the doctor's name was Dr. Lipschitz. Like that
Yeah.
was like my mom was like, that's funny to an adult. Even though it's a real name, it's still funny.
Oh, yeah. I remember watching like Hey Arnold. And my dad would be watching it with us, and he would laugh at parts we wouldn't laugh. We were like, what's funny? And he's like, don't worry about it.
You'll get it one day.
He was like, do you realize the grandfather, like if you trace his ear down to his chin, it is a penis and balls.
A lot of these drawers just wanted to do dicks.
Yeah.
Even the professionals, amateurs and professionals, love drawing a dick.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm now picturing, when she said Little Mermaid, I'm picturing the Little Mermaid now going to the BJ class, and I feel like that's a good cartoon, too.
Right?
Yeah.
But isn't it the cover of the mermaid has a dick on it or something?
Yes.
I don't know.
Like the
It's
priest
like
has a boner?
trident or something.
Oh, I thought it was like the priest has a boner.
She rules the sea with it. It was her trident.
No, the guy, the Poseidon or whatever behind her, like something he's holding is very phallic,
I
I
don't know.
believe.
Fucking Poseidon, man. Well, let's ask the main question of what was your first job?
Yeah.
We've really,
We've covered the
strayed.
blow portion. What are you guys' first job? This deli.
My first job, I was a graphic designer for Disney in the penis department.
Job I work for Disney.
This is the first place Dan worked was here in this deli. Which
Work's
we've
a
talked
strong
about.
word, yeah.
Yeah, my first real job would be my dad's a dentist. I worked at the dental office.
Your dad's a dentist?
Mhm.
I have
Yeah.
a cousin who's a dentist.
They didn't trust me in the back, so they were like, you have to dress nice and work the front desk. And then my whole first summer working there, I'd get sent to the basement to shred paper. They're like, at first I was shredding it upstairs, like, the shredder's too loud. So I was just like in the basement in a dress, like, why do I gotta wear this dress if I just have to be in the basement shredding paper?
Sounds
I
like
made
our dads
$5
were
an
similar.
hour.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
dad was like, you know what, just go stock that aisle. I was like, someone did that earlier. Just go stock it.
Yeah,
man.
just go check
Move
it.
some stuff forward. That's what he would say.
Yeah,
Pull
I
some
would-
stuff forward was his big one.
Yeah, before electronic files, I would file files. So
So how old are you? 14, you said?
I was like I don't know if it's legal to say. I was like 12.
Oh yeah.
I remember being like, I want a job. He's like, all right, come work here.
Yeah.
I made like
when
$5 an
parents out
hour.
of love break the law for their children.
Yeah.
Kind of. I have no idea.
How many years did you work with them?
But then following summers, I would work there. Then I got upgraded to the back.
Oh, you made it to the
I
back?
made it to the back. I made it to the back wearing scrubs. I was a dental assistant.
So you got to like squirt water and
Nope,
stuff?
I didn't make it. I only at one point finally made it to actually being in the room with the patient. I got in trouble.
I kind of made it to the
I
back.
got in trouble if I would look like a dental hygienist was the uniform
Yeah.
basically, and I would screw with people I knew from school. Would come in, I would like get them and seat them in rooms as part of my job, but I occasionally would pretend that I was going to be the dental hygienist to clean their teeth.
That's
And they were
amazing.
like, wait, can you do this? I was like, yeah, it's just 2 years of school. I was like, I'm certified. I was like, well, if you're uncomfortable, we can have someone else come in.
So then he asked you to
yeah,
stop
and it wasn't
doing
allowed.
that?
I was not allowed to use the phone either.
Were you making calls out?
No, that was when I was really little. My brother and I figured the button that makes it all the phones are an intercom now.
Oh.
And we just kept announcing lotto jackpot numbers. And it's like
Just
the
funny to
thing-
imagine that in like in a dentist's office. I've never seen something
Yeah.
comical happen in a dentist's office.
Yeah, you know, just some kids like the lotto jackpot is now $10 million. And it was like funny the first time that we kept doing it. He's like, it's not funny.
Yeah.
You can't touch the phones.
I would be so confused if I was getting a cavity and heard that. I'd be like, what part of my brain did you
Yeah.
drill into that
Right.
I'm hearing lottery numbers now?
Yeah.
Kids and phones are dangerous.
Well, it's like you like that you have smart kids until they start doing stuff like that. And you're like,
Yeah,
I wish
I
they
was bad with
couldn't figure
phones
anything
as a
out.
kid. Yeah, I would dial 911 on a lot of phones. Payphones, because I was like always. I remember being in like my parents would make me go to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, as a family
Yeah.
trip. They do like my mom and grandparents currently in Lancaster right now. They love going up there, and I must have been like 7 years old, and I loved payphones, but I never had money, so I wasn't making calls. And I remember we were in a Burlington coat factory, and I wander to the front where the payphone is. I get away from my grandma, grandpa, my mom, and I'm like, you know what? I feel like 911 probably has to pick up whether you have money or not. They got to help you. I feel like they help poor people too. So I dial 911 and the woman answers and I panic because I know what I did. And all I was able to say is like, I didn't even have money. And so all they heard was I don't have money. And my mom sees me. She picks me up. They put me in the car. And as we're pulling away, I would guess anywhere from like 10 to 12 police officers come barreling down the road.
God.
And I'm in the backseat with my grandma, my grandpa, my grandma and mom. They start to look at each other, and that's when they realize they're like, oh, no, like none of us were with him for like 10 minutes. And then they just look at me, and I'm just like, and they always used to tell me that like if I was bad, I would have to live with the Amish people. And I remember like passing a horse and buggy, be like, I'm guessing you guys are dropping me there, right? And we still go to that Burlington. They're probably there right now.
That kid, you're right. Kids with like, there's nothing funnier to kids than like an intercom or a phone prank. Even like today. But
Yeah.
like my brother used
I
to
love that
take-
I still dial 911 thinking it would not work, and it did so
Yeah.
well.
My brother used to take our schools, like we went to a small Catholic school, and he would like go through the directory and just like prank call like people's houses. It wouldn't even say
this is
anything.
great.
He thought it was hilarious to hear like the mom pick up and be like hello for like 5 seconds, and he would be like, that's
Prank
what got him off,
calls
and then
are
hang up the phone.
Were you a prank caller? Either of
Oh
you?
yeah, all the time. In like
Yeah.
middle school.
Oh,
Well, you could, like,
you
star
could do it
6,
into
7
adulthood
people.
when you actually could mess with people better.
Or
Oh, yeah.
7 Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, no caller
Remember
ID.
when people would
Yeah.
still some reason answer a restricted number?
Yeah, it was so fun.
There
We
was a
did that for
website that
hours.
did prank calls at a period of time. You would put in a number and it would send a
Yep.
message. There was one that was like, you stole my newspaper, I'm coming over with the bat. And I did that to my grandma, and she called the police. She like locked the door and had my grandfather get out his gun and was like, and which is bad because they both got the shakes. So you
Yeah.
don't want to get a gun out when you got the shakes.
Hey, you made your nana get her gun.
Yeah, grandma's all for getting
That's
it.
pretty bad.
Oh,
She's,
man.
I got one grandma who's a real badass, or at least cold. I should
shit.
say. Molly, what was your first job before I get into shitting on my family, who all listen to this?
I worked at an ice cream store. for,
Hell
like,
yeah. You're not the
2
first
years.
one who we have had in an ice cream
Oh.
guest.
Ours was a homemade place. So I grew up in like a farm town outside of Syracuse. And so they had their own farm and they would bring in all the milk. And
What was the name of the town?
it's called Norwich.
Oh, you're gonna
Big
say
supplier of
Cornwall.
Chobani
yeah.
yogurt.
It's where Chobani's headquarters.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
So is that like upstate New York?
Yeah.
Okay,
like
'cause-
outside of Oneonta area.
Yeah, my parents bought a log cabin in Cornwall when I was born.
Okay.
Cornwall, New York.
Yeah.
They stayed there for a year. They saw a bear, no joke, put the house up for sale.
Yeah, we have bears by my parents' house.
So you lived in like the farm area for how long did you grow up there?
Well, my parents are still there, so I was there. I
You
was
seem
born
so
there till
not
18.
farmy.
Oh, thanks. Feels like a compliment.
Oh my God, you seem like you don't come from a farm.
Thanks for taking the piece of hay out of your mouth before we started. You know?
You look like you can read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've gone back to Cornwall, and I know some of the people that I grew up with, and they look farmy.
Yeah, people I grew up with look farmy.
I feel like an ice cream store is a really fun place to work. Like any town you go to, that's a happy place.
It was kind of weird though, because like, so my dad used to own a travel agency, and after 9/11, he had to like get rid of it because the business wasn't so great. And so this ice cream place bought it from him, like completely redid it. And they just like saw me come in one day, and they were like, "Hey, you know the building, like you should come work here." And I was like, "This is weird." And so they just like hired me, like didn't really train me. Everything was way too expensive because of all the renovations they had to do. This like 3-story building, and so
3 stories of ice cream shop.
No, it was just like a party.
The whole building?
Yeah,
Oh.
but they renovated all 3 floors for some reason, and so they just like hired me out of nowhere to work there because they thought I like knew what I was doing.
That's a
You've
weird
been in
thing.
this room before.
You've been in
That's
this
a weird
room. I
thing.
think I could scoop.
Yeah.
What do they think? Like there's ice cream hidden there already? You know the building. You can find the ice cream that was left here.
Yeah, we got a 3-story building that's expensive. Let's open a seasonal business.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was
On
so
one
weird.
floor.
Sprinkles on the second floor.
Like not even like coffee and ice cream shop. Like not even another reason.
They did have coffee, but I was 14. I was like, I can't make this, and it was so bad. And so everything was way too expensive, and no one would like come in there, and so they went out of business pretty quickly.
There was a period of time I was the coffee guy here, and I remember adults, like, when I would turn my back, handing the cup of coffee back to my dad and being like, what the fuck did he do to that? Like, give me a real cup.
Yeah, people would be like, "Can you make a cappuccino?" I was like, "No."
Yeah. I literally used to look at me and be like, I'm 12.
It's a Dan special. They're like, there's Alfredo sauce in this. Can I not?
I got really good at grilled cheeses for a period of time here. That was the most that ever contributed to this deli was I made a grilled cheese menu because that was like the level of cooking I could do.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
not bad though.
Yeah, that's pretty
No,
impressive.
it was fine for a period of time. It really got the people going in
Yeah.
the building. They
I'll
loved
be
it.
down.
Is the ice cream place still open?
No, it
No,
closed after like a
fair.
couple of years.
Were either of you ever fired?
No.
No. Never got fired.
But you said you got
I
close.
almost did actually.
Yeah.
So I was an RA in college, and
This is not the first RA firing story.
Yeah.
I love it.
I should not have been an RA. And so they do like the hiring the spring before for the fall semester.
Yeah.
So I got hired when I was 20. Like the night I found, or like the day that I found out I got hired, we went to a party that night, and I got caught by an undercover cop.
Oh,
And
Oh,
so
shit.
Oh,
I went
great.
to school in Vermont, and they have this thing called diversions, which is basically like a tax for drinking, because then like it gets taken off your record once you pay for it. And so it's ridiculous. You have to go
That's
to like
so
alcohol
stupid.
classes and
It's how
stuff.
Vermont makes all their money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Let's be
they
real.
they have nothing else. And so
Everybody's drinking.
yeah, everyone's shit faced, and they're like, "Hey, you're a child." And so I got one of those, and then it like went through the process of the school. And I was also at the time an editor for the school paper, and I did this thing called the Spartan Spy, which was like basically like kind of like a Gossip Girl for
Yeah.
the party scene. And it was the last issue of the paper, so I had to come out and do like my expose that it was me. And so I was like, well, I can say that like I have a good time. I got this diversion. It's funny. Wrote it, and the RA team like saw it, and they
Oh, so
freaked.
you outed yourself.
I outed myself, and I like
What?
had this ticket, and I had to go to alcohol counseling, and they're like, "You're supposed to like be in charge of people."
oh
Yeah.
God.
So I had to go
And
to
weren't
a
you
lot
also
of meetings.
an athlete too? Did
Yeah,
that get you in trouble? We got caught drinking, throwing a party in our dorm room one time, and our coach made the entire team run
My
pretty
coach
badly.
knew. He like hated me, my basketball coach. There was one day, it was the day after Halloween, and I might have still been drunk at practice. And
What school is this again?
it's called Castleton.
Castleton.
Go Spartans.
Got it.
I
Molly's
like,
literally missing an alumni event right now for this school.
Uh-huh.
She's like, I'll just skip it.
yeah. So it was the day
No,
after
the alumni
Halloween.
event is it from 8 to 10, right?
Yeah.
That's where we're all going after.
I mean,
this.
honestly, yeah.
I was like, I got a thing, and I was like, I can't tell them I'm going to a blowjob class.
My hand just tensed up. So weird.
But it was the day after Halloween, and we had practice like 8 in the morning. And I run past my coach, and he screams, "It smells like a fucking brewery in here!" And he ends practice,
Ends it.
ends it, and we all had to go home.
The worst my coach ever caught us was we were in Clearwater Beach, Florida, and like each age group got their own house on the beach for it was like our spring training, so we would have all
Okay.
the freshmen would stay in a house, and I was already hurt. I blew out my arm opening day, and I found out on the bus down to Florida that like it was all completely torn. So I was in the clear.
Yeah.
But we were partying, and we heard that they were going to do a room check, so we moved all the liquor to the roof.
Okay.
And then we forgot about it because we were fucked up. And when the team bus picked us up the next morning, the bus was at the same level as the roof. So the coach literally just was like, "Is that a case of vodka?" And then he made them run. And then I got there. He was like, "You got to run." I was like, "Dude, it's blown out. What do you mean?" And I didn't have to
Oh
run.
shit!
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
I didn't carry that up here.
I remember college athlete. I only was a college athlete for 1 year, and I feel like it was enough for me.
It's
Everything
a
I
lot.
experienced, like, did you guys have to take bus? Did you have to take long bus trips?
Yep.
Yeah.
We used to do the Florida one, and like the amount of concoctions we would come up with to knock ourselves out on the bus. People would like hand around a styrofoam cup, and you'd be like, "What's in it?" They're like, "Bedtime." And, like, people would just knock themselves out. They would make like their own purple drink and shit.
Oh, we didn't do that.
Wait, how long was this bus ride?
I mean,
7,
we would
20
go
minutes,
from my
maybe.
school was
Yeah,
in
I
New
was like-
Jersey, so we were going from Jersey to Florida.
By bus.
Oh,
So
that's
we
over
didn't-
a day trip.
brutal.
And you have to factor in that I was a freshman that year, so I was getting hazed on the bus by the seniors.
Yeah.
Pretty poorly.
Jesus.
We
On
had to
the
travel
bus?
with the guys team.
Yeah,
did
they
you?
hazed us big time
didn't?
on the bus.
We did
Oh,
for
we
basketball.
did. Yeah, like you
And
didn't get your own seat till you were a senior.
No,
Oh,
even
really?
then, all the girls still had to double up, but the guys didn't, and they would
Oh,
fart
that
the
is
entire
Oh.
ride. It was
That sounds about right.
awful.
You gotta love when a male athlete does nothing to hide being a male athlete.
Yeah, it was
This is
so
the
bad.
exact. This is funny. 3 college athletes and someone who looks like they're gonna play a hot college athlete in a TV show soon.
Probably.
You
I
look like
didn't-
you could be
Yeah.
the new high
You're
school
the
musical.
quarterback.
I'll take
Yeah,
it.
him
Maybe that guy on Euphoria. Who's the guy on Euphoria?
I didn't watch that.
Damn it.
I watched Training
guarantee you-
I was educating
We all know I'm
myself.
bad at names.
Yeah.
What's that other face?
It's the football asshole. He's very hot though.
No, thanks.
He
I'll
could
take
be
it.
a football. Yeah, you like.
Well, the sport I played, no one's surprised. I didn't play anything in college.
play
but I was-
squash?
No.
Water polo.
No, but my roommate was a collegiate squash player.
That's
What
a
did you
collegiate
play?
sport.
And when the coach literally so it wasn't NCAA, so he could wear whatever he wanted during the matches, and he'd wear like a Tito's headband, and there was nothing they could do about it. And like
awesome.
they would literally have to go bang on his door to get him to go. Like he would just skip tournaments sometimes. But anyway, I did not play squash. I played golf, which is like
Oh, I was
come
on the
on.
boys' golf team in high school.
What is squash? I'm so lost.
It's like racquetball, but it's different.
Oh,
Sometimes.
Molly's dad would
Oh.
love you.
Yeah,
Don't you
Really?
call it
Okay.
pickleball?
big golf family.
Oh, are you guys?
Yeah,
that
I was on
my
the boys'
sport
team in
growing up.
high school.
Not me. I'm not
Really?
part of Molly's
Yeah.
family.
You were a boys golfer?
Yeah,
Well, there's no women's team.
yeah, and the
Fair.
girls' soccer team was like they just sucked as people. So I was like, "Fuck you guys! I'll go play golf with the boys."
I
And
like
were
how
all
they
just
didn't suck as a
smoking
team; they sucked as people.
hot. Yeah, no, also as a team.
Oh yeah, that's why I stopped
Yeah.
playing the flute. I didn't like the flute girls.
Yeah,
I was like, I'll go play trumpet with the boys.
Real clicky bunch.
You know who probably
Really
doesn't need a
was. And I hated
blowjob
the
class? The
clarinets.
flute girls.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
One of them's teaching it tonight. You're like, "Oh, son of a bitch.
My
Well, I
entrance
hated
into
it.
this was years of flute.
Wait, Jack,
Wait,
do you have a girlfriend?
No, I'm single right now.
I miss his
Do you
old
have a girlfriend?
No,
No.
I liked his old girlfriend a lot. They were
Just
great.
Four
They were a
single
power
gals
couple.
hanging out.
I tell you what, it's the podcast has helped. I've set up a few dates after a first episode release. I shouldn't have said that out loud
Really?
on the podcast because that means
This is
people
so
have listened
interesting.
to it.
If
No
you're
one
going on a
has hit
date
us
with
up.
Dan Lamort, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be mini golf. That's the
That
only
is-
thing he
there's-
does.
That is 100% true.
In
Every
the winter? You have a winter mini golf spot.
indoor mini golf.
where?
Where? In the
She's
city?
like, Dan,
Well,
it's
in New
cold. Can we
Jersey,
go?
where I live, but-
Oh.
Yeah, I love mini
Jersey.
golf dates. They're my favorite thing, and not
That
because
sounds fun.
I love it
It's
for
cute.
myself.
Yeah.
I don't care about how cute. I just love mini golf.
Yeah, I can't believe you're single. You're just picking things that only you like.
I know. Right?
You know what I do to plan a nice date for a woman? I pick something I want to do.
Yeah, right.
I don't care if
Well,
she
listen,
likes
it's
it.
either
This is
mini
about
golf
me.
or a gluten-free restaurant, so I'm giving them the better of the two.
Dan's taking a girl on a date. He's like, "You're gonna love this." She's like, "Where are we going?" He's like, "Mini golfing." She's like, "It's winter." He's like, "I know the guy who owns the place. He'll open it for
No,
us."
I'm just like, there's an open gate in the back. I have my own putter. We'll share a ball.
She's like, "Is it heated?" He's like, "Heated? What?"
I'll go as far to say when I'm on the road and I hang out with the girl on tour, and if like I'm in the city for 2 days and like we're gonna get together the next day,
Yeah.
we'll go mini golfing. I've gone mini golfing in a lot of cities.
Really?
I like seeing the mini
It's
golf.
fun to pick a thing and then do it in every city. You can get whatever you want. What do you need?
Wow.
All right. You know what? I don't think the podcast is scaring away customers as much as I am personally scaring away customers.
I mean,
You're over
there
two.
wasn't an
She was clearly looking at the coffee. I was
there
like,
wasn't an
"Come grab
ounce
it."
of reaction. Whatever she needed was not you.
It was man.
We had you remember the lady that one time who just walked right through? She was like,
Yeah,
not
she actually
having
needed
it.
something in that aisle, and she walked through this
Yeah.
one just to make us stand
Yeah.
up.
I so badly want to ask what race she was, but we're not allowed to do that anymore.
No, you're not.
British.
Was it really?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have guessed that. Good thing I
Yeah.
just asked a
From
general
London.
question. I didn't assume.
There's a British woman with.
You did assume. You
I
just
think
didn't
what happened
verbalize
with her.
it.
Yeah.
I had an idea in there.
There was an assumption.
You know,
Well, we won't
there's
follow
certain
up on who-
cultures that are very good at ignoring people around them and
Yeah.
pretending they don't speak English. It's admirable, really. Really.
Irish, right?
It's like they're a 70-year-old person, but just all the time. Like when people just get so old, they do not care.
I like how vague you're being about it, though.
I'm being
Yeah.
pretty good.
You're not going to lose
I'm
anything over
pretty,
that.
Pretty PC over here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's 1 second away from just shouting out what she was.
Damn!
Yeah.
You're so close to it.
Obviously, I'm
It's also
talking
gonna
about
be
the
something,
cops.
like wildly surprising too. She's gonna be like, "Look, I'm not saying all Scottish people, but it's most of them. It's most Scottish people."
See, she did want something. She sent your dad over here. Told her it was okay. This might be the last podcast.
It
that
looks like
happens
he grabbed the wrong thing too. I'm watching it
no.
all unfold. I feel like sitting this low if you feel like you're not in the deli. I feel like you're watching it
Yeah.
from above, but yet you're below it.
I didn't feel that way, but
You know what? I also ate edibles before I recorded, so that might have a lot to do with that observation.
Probably does.
I just
Yeah.
feel like I'm floating. Who knows?
Wait, so you told this was funny before we started. You were saying that you did it. You almost got fired after you tried to quit, right?
I did essentially quit the job.
And then
I
there-
was giving a 2 weeks notice, but they wanted me to stay a month. I was a hostess in a restaurant. And, they wanted more time to find somebody. I was like, all right, well, I can work till the end of January. And it mainly was because I had a big gig on Valentine's Day, and it's a big restaurant night. But more than a month in advance, I was like, I have a gig on Valentine's Day. And I already worked Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah.
Literally Christmas Day, I
Yeah.
worked.
That's
so I
wild.
was like, and New Year's Eve. So I was like, yeah, I can't do Valentine's Day. There's 3 other hostess, have 2 others do it. And they were like, yeah, that's not going to work. I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to work here anymore. I was like, I'm giving you plenty of notice that you can't, whatever. So I gave a month's notice, which I would never do ever again at a job. And I was the hostess, and it's like, I got paid like literally $13 an hour, and then I would get like coat check tips. And sometimes it'd be great, sometimes it'd be terrible. But someone basically slipped me at $20 because they wanted a specific table, and we weren't holding it for anybody else. So I was like, all right, like,
Yeah.
Hell
yeah.
And so I like put them at that table, and then but the managers seat them, and so the manager switched it and brought him to the table, but then he said something to the manager, was like, no, I want this table.
I paid
And
for it.
he was like, I gave your hostess $20. And she came back to me and she was like, did you take $20 from somebody for giving a table? I was like, yeah. And she was like, give me the 20, and it was in the coat check thing.
She
And
took the
She took
20?
the 20 back, gave it back to the man, because apparently, whatever, I don't know, because some other person wanted the table that she knew. It doesn't matter. Basically, managers of restaurants usually screw over anybody that actually works there for tips, and it's
Right.
infuriating. But she came back and she was like, if you ever do that again, I swear to God, I will fire you on the spot. And I was like, I already quit this job.
Yeah.
I was like, do it. I don't want to be here.
You're like, I hate to tell you, you got exactly 4 weeks to do that if you want to fire
I'm so
me.
mad she took the 20 back.
yeah.
Well, because the guy didn't get the real table, so it's like, yeah, I mean, he had every right to. He was going to ask me back for it.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Like, no.
Spent it already.
You should have asked me if I could have gotten him the right
Yeah.
table before he gave me the 20.
But it was so stupid because it was like, I took that job just to be like, I do comedy. I just need like 3 nights a week just for some extra cash.
Yeah.
And they were like, man, you're really good. And they were giving me 6 nights a week. I was like, this is not. That's
Yeah.
not the plan. They were like, but you're better than the other 2. I'm like, yeah, I went to college. Like, I'm not dumb. I can be a hostess. It's not that hard.
I used to try to milk extra money when I worked at the deli by putting like jokes on top of the tip jar.
Oh, that's great.
But I would just Google it. I was like 14, so I was just stealing other people's bits.
Yeah.
Like there was a period of time where I was a 14-year-old kid working that counter, and the cup said, "Just put the tip in." And I was like, that was my humor back then, and it worked. It worked so well.
I saw a homeless guy with a
Tip jar?
But they have like, you know how sometimes they'll put a joke on like a sign,
Yeah.
yeah.
and someone walked by and was like, "Oh, that made me laugh," and then gave him money, and I was like, "You weren't gonna give him money, like."
All the
that
sign
to
said
me
was
feels
homeless
so
veteran too. It was not even that funny.
yeah, right.
Hilarious.
That's a good bit.
I lost my kids. You're like, that is all right. That's
you
a
got
good
me.
one.
Oh shit.
Good one.
I don't know. To me, that felt so weird to be like, because what if he hadn't? The guy wouldn't eat if he didn't make you laugh that day. You know what I mean?
I mean, you got to have a
Maybe.
talent in New York if you're going to be homeless.
Yeah, you gotta have a gimmick. That's very
You're
true.
competing with a lot of other homeless people. You ever see one homeless person come on the train and everybody gives them money and had like a really great speech or whatever?
Yeah.
And then someone comes out immediately after and you're like, worst timing.
Yeah.
Worst timing
It's like,
possible.
you better have something good.
Yeah.
You better have a backflip.
Dude, you're more of an opener. We just had a closer come through already.
You
Like,
missed
if
the
you-
headliner, dude.
If you were genuinely homeless, what would you do to get money?
A crime, and I'd go to jail. I've thought it out. If I ever became homeless, it's a common
You
thought
would
as
do
a
a crime
comic.
to go to jail?
I think I would rob a place. I wouldn't hurt anyone. I would just try to keep getting jail time.
I
And then
think I've-
slowly
Kinda
I would
smart.
create a family and become Charles Manson.
Yes. No brainer.
I think you just were like, the only solution to homelessness is being a criminal.
I feel like I'd
You're like, I'll just give up.
I do comedy. That's what I try to do. I'm already doing that to try to combat homelessness.
There are people though, I think, who
What would you do though?
Prostitution.
Fair.
I've thought about it, and I'm not even homeless. I don't know if that's bad to say, but it's very
taking
true.
the steps of classes. And
I've
everything.
met escorts before, and when they talk about it, you're like, man, just one client a month would be like more than rent money. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
You could be a prostitute too.
You
if you became
could,
homeless.
Jack.
A high-end one.
What are you
We'll
doing?
train you.
What does this become?
We're pimping you out, dude.
We're shooting some shots. No, but actually, it's even harder for men because I think you do actually have to be generally very good at sex. Like, you need to be like best you've ever had if a woman's paying $1,500.
Right.
Yeah, true. Yeah. That is you need a hell of a pep talk for the
Yeah,
$1,500
you need to be a good
sex.
date.
Yeah.
You need to not go mini golfing, and you need to,
I
you need to be able
lose
to
all
pick
my
a woman
repeat
up.
clients
You
because
know?
they don't want to play mini golf.
I
That
just
is.
need a nice old woman who has money and wants to go golfing.
I think there's people who just want company.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing. When you talk to an escort, they're like half the time they don't even sleep with them.
Isn't that wild?
It
Yeah.
is wild.
Is that the same for women too?
It's mostly women, right? Who just go on the dates? Or
I
wait,
guess that
you're
makes
saying,
sense. Yes,
yeah.
I think that. well, I'm
It's
saying-
kind of essentially it's up to you what you want to do, but for a female escort that gets hired by a man,
Yeah.
there's a fee for like a date, and then sex is like an additional fee.
Wow.
Oh.
Which they
Deuce
know ahead of
Bigelow.
time, but it was like my one friend I knew it was like $1,000. She just like hung out with this guy all night. They had dinner, watched a movie, like cuddled.
Yeah, it's kind of
Why
like
that?
you hear. it
But
and you're
she was
kinda
saying
like,
those are more sad.
Yeah.
Those like fuck with her more.
I
than
had
when
a
dude just
I had a
wants to have
friend
sex.
who I guess kind of escort. She would go on dates with guys for money.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like $300
And she would do
coffee
some
dates.
like there was one guy. This is the most disgusting thing I've ever. This was in Los Angeles. Me and my buddy Greg, who's a comic, we get in an Uber, and the driver is a young black woman, who is. She told us she was like the black big porn star of the year. She was a porn star Uber driver. And
Wow.
she goes, look on my Twitter. So she tells us, look on her Twitter. Her pinned tweet is just her fingering herself. So I'm like, oh, you passed the test. You did it.
Yeah.
And then
We
she
believe ya.
told us that I said, what's, because when I talk like crazy in Ubers, I love talking to Uber drivers. So I'm like, what is the craziest thing you've ever had as a porn star? And she goes, there is a guy who pays me every year. He flies me out for a week. For 6 days, he feeds me what he wants. On the 7th day, I poop and he eats it at the dinner table with me sitting next to him.
Are you?
And she told me that with
serious?
the straightest of faces. He picks her diet, so
And she has to keep a straight face watching a man eat her poop.
yeah, and he pays her like
Oh, I
an
would
astronomical amount of money.
I wonder
Clearly
if
not
it's the
enough
same
for her.
every year, or if he's like switching it up.
Yeah, but what? Imagine
Last year was way
I like
too
that he
fibrous.
thinks it takes a whole week for whatever he feeds her to get through the system.
Right.
But imagine eating shit as one of your other jobs on top of driving Uber. You have to
Ugh.
drive Uber and eat shit.
No, she's
No,
not
no,
eating
she's
shit.
She's not eating. All she
No,
has to
she
do is
eats
shit.
the shit. Oh no, he eats it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He eats it. Yeah. Fair.
I was like, how much is this man paying her?
Fair. Yeah.
And she's still driving an Uber.
He puts
you
it
would
on
need
a
to pay
plate.
me so much money that I don't need to drive an Uber anymore.
Right.
She told me that the porn awards were like coming up, so she was just making some extra bucks before it.
Of course.
In my head, I was like, shouldn't you just do a scene? But you can't say that.
That's
But I love that she
insane.
told us. Like, we still talk on Twitter. I think she actually might listen to the podcast.
Shit.
Have you
Yeah.
gone through her followers? See, I would take it to the next level. I'd be going through her followers and being like, who is it?
Yeah.
Who is he? You know, like,
Shit.
look like they eat shit.
yeah.
It's a middle-aged white man with glasses.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yes, exactly.
It's a white guy with glasses. I know.
Yeah, like thinning.
No, she's not going to
Hair.
give up that deal.
What a weird thing though.
It's a
Like
yearly
he wants
customer.
the. He's so into it that he picks the diet.
That's like such a control thing. You know what I mean? That's
She's
like
secretly
Yeah.
a part of like a large study at Stanford. like how did people figure out that pineapple apparently makes a dude's jizz like taste like pineapple or whatever? We don't even know if that's
takes
true, but it's
3
like there had to be studies happening.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I don't think she's the only one.
I wonder if the diet changes. That's
There's
what I
no-
wonder. Like, does he
Yeah.
take a bite and he's like, well, next week 2 apples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
he
saying.
Has
Yeah.
to change. He
Gotta
probably
wait
It's
has a
almost
till
like
book
he's
that
trying
he
to
writes
figure
it
out
all
a
in.
diet that shit tastes good.
Yeah. And that's
And like at first I thought this was the grossest thing I ever heard, and now I'm like, this man might have $1 million idea.
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to Shark Tank.
Erica's like, wait, is he? I had this idea already.
He's gonna want shit
Sharks,
burgers.
you have never seen a product like this.
I found a way to start to cure third world hunger,
The most enjoyable fecal
Yeah.
meal in the world.
especially if he's like only giving her like non-perishable food. he's onto something.
You're
He's
gonna,
onto something.
this is gonna go global, and you're gonna be like, I came up with it first. I came up.
I didn't come up with it, but I figured out what was going on.
You connected so many dots there.
Listen.
That's
I did an escape room recently. My brain's on fire. Okay.
Aren't those fun escape rooms?
They are so fun.
They're fun.
I thought it was
You
going to be
don't like 'em.
terrifying.
I did one. It was like all puzzles, and I was like, I want to go.
That's what they are. They're a
Yeah,
puzzle.
they're brain puzzles. I thought it was going to be scary. I was just relieved it wasn't scary. However,
want
each
it to be
room when it would
scary.
open the new door, I would not go in there first.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're the friend who runs, not gets killed.
Yep.
I blew a. That's
Oh,
was a
hello.
bad stuff. I forgot. They didn't escape. No, I blew it one time. Like I fucked it up for everybody. Like there was the last room had a closet with hangers on the thing, and I took off the hangers to try to pick the lock with it. But it turns out one of the puzzles opened up the door with the crack, and the crack would make the hanger make a noise because it would bang against the opening. And I took those off to try to pick a lock. So we had no idea we won. So we just stayed in the room after escaping.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And the place, imagine that.
They're
The place
supposed
was
to
like,
tell
we
you.
actually can't count it as a win. So they gave us like the loser signs hold up. What a weird thing.
Well, you have to make
Yeah.
it out in the time.
Yeah, but we did
But
not.
but they usually come on the speaker.
Yeah.
They should come on the speaker and be like, yeah, you're done.
Yeah, they didn't. They let
Like-
us, like, they just made me feel like a complete dick.
Oh, really?
Because
There was
then
a
the whole
couple
car
times.
ride home, like, we would have done it if it wasn't for you. I'm like, yeah, but we left anyway.
How much do these things cost? I've never done one.
It depends what you do. If you like privately do the room, like no one
Let's
else
say
is
you
with
wanna
you.
go for like a week.
If you get a
and
group of,
make the
like-
people who work there
Whoa,
eat
whoa,
whatever
we-
you want them to eat, and then at the end, the guy who works the escape room he has to eat his own shit.
That's where the key out is. It's in the shit. It's actually Saw.
I think it's like
well,
if
they're
you
like
get
team. It's usually like a team building thing, like an orientation for work, right?
We did it for work, and I don't think mine was a real escape room. Now I feel like I was lied to.
no. Well, there's
It was some
different
guy's
things.
John's
There's like
house.
there's like 5 wits in malls, which is like more basic puzzles. That are like that's more like for kids kind of thing, but it's also a team building.
I
But
think
it's
that's
also
what we
it depends
did.
who your group is that go. So
Yeah.
mine was like my immediate family of 5, and it's like you naturally have a dynamic. And my brother's very like engineering mind, and my sister's very like straight laced mind, and then I'm kind of in the middle. So it's like to have all 3 of those, and then my dad. But when somebody's in the last room, and like you kind of the first room took the longest because you're like figuring out how the
Yeah.
game is played and like where to look for clues or whatever, or you basically figure out as you open like a lock in a drawer, that's a clue to open another drawer or whatever, right?
Yeah.
We're in the final room, and we have like these 3 pieces of stuff you have to bring from room to room that put together a word, and the word was star. And my sister's putting it in on like the little lock, and there's a doll like in the corner. My mom's like, "Try doll, DOLL," and it was like the 8th thing she was just completely wrong about. We're just like, "It's not doll," and then she's like, "I'm just happy we're all together."
It seems like an incredible job to be the clue giver. I know there's a comic in Boston, John, who just put out an album about it, but he was the guy behind it. That seems like such an incredible job, like the one who has to give the clues to the people in the room. Your job is to just watch people solve problems.
Oh, when
suffer.
you're in
Yeah,
the
like you're watching. Yeah, you're watching people like really melt down a bit.
That'd be kind of fun.
Well, the funniest thing is they like give you a little like intro before you do it, and the number one thing they said is, first of all, there's cameras in every room, and we can hear you. So when you shit on the people that made the room and call us idiots, we can hear what you're saying. And I was like, that definitely had to happen a handful of times.
Yeah.
They're like, we should probably tell them.
I forget that happened. My mom and I were in an ATM when I was like,
Do you want some?
Help yourself.
Oh,
Hey man,
"Go
Money.
for it."
Don't worry.
Yeah, it was like same thing. I was in an ATM with my mom. and I was,
don't
like,
mind
14.
the camera that's focusing right on your pin. We're
It's not.
gonna rob you blind.
Not if he takes the car.
Have you ever just been at an ATM and like the receipt's in there from before and you pick it up and ruin your
Oh,
day? You're like,
yeah.
oh, account is killing me, whatever number it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, this person has 5
I'm like, this
grand?
asshole left this here on purpose.
Yeah, I think so.
I once picked up one,
Probably.
it was like 20,000. I'm like, who's got 20,000 in a checking?
20,000.
In a checking. I was like, you don't open a savings at that point?
Just
Fun
to feel close
ATM
to him, I
store.
would have snorted cocaine through that receipt. I would have rolled up his 20 grand receipt and just blew a few lines to feel what that feels like.
Did you ever get that letter from like Chase where they're like, open a savings account with us at
I've never had a
$15,000 and
credit
you'll get an
card.
extra
No.
400? I'm like, you see my account right now.
I've literally
I don't
never
have
had
an
a
extra
credit card.
15.
I went to Bank of America for I forget what it was for, but it was like it was like right after I graduated college, and the guy immediately was like pressing me. He was like, you should, we got a great deal for people to open a credit card. Like, you should do it. You should think about it. Blah blah blah. And we keep talking, and like the whole time he's like, it's not going to be hard. It's
Thanks
not
for
going to
being
be.
our muse, sir.
He's like, it's not going to be hard to get the credit card. And then, like, as we keep talking, he's like, so what are you doing for work? I was like, well, I'm unemployed and I want to be a comedian. He was like, so it's not a guarantee with the credit card. But,
I've never gotten a credit card to this
Really?
day. I have a debit card.
Oh,
Like, I think 2 years ago, I was considering getting my first credit card, and my cousin, as a joke, applied me for all like the rich people ones, so I got denied from I think 10 or 12 credit cards,
God.
and I think it tanked my credit. I'm not sure.
No,
I just
credit
have
goes
a-
down when you open a credit card, supposedly.
Really?
Yeah.
I just have a debit
If you
card.
keep
that's
opening
it.
too many too quickly, it will like lower your credit.
Yeah, he like applied me for a bunch, and I got denied from everyone.
How else are you
Really?
supposed to pay one off? You open another one to pay the other one off, right? Isn't that how you do it?
And then you die, and you pass it to your
Yeah.
your child.
And then you
All
claim
opening
bankruptcy and
mortgages,
you don't have
yeah.
to pay any of the credit card debt.
Genius. That's the way to do it.
I just realized that's last week.
That's
was
the way to do
Thanksgiving.
it.
We
Claim
didn't talk about
bankruptcy
it.
and then just go to prison. There you go. Just avoid
That's how you're gonna.
homelessness.
That's how you're gonna beat homelessness.
No.
You're gonna be a prostitute.
What was your answer?
I mean, I considered doing prostitute when I got herpes. I was like, man, why not? we already got the worst. I was like, am I allowed? I was like, if they find out, I might get fired. I might have to pay everybody back.
You have to pass the bar.
I like indirectly asked an escort I knew about that. I was like, what if you were to say, get an STD? Like herpes.
What was her answer?
I was like, would that mess up your business? I forget, but she didn't say it would. I think she basically said, like, yeah, you'd be, like, kind of putting
You'd have
people
a
at
niche.
risk.
You'd
Like,
have a
she
niche
basically was
market.
like, you'll get blacklisted from, like, the resources she used to get clients if, like, they find out you have that and aren't disclosing it to people.
Or you could set up like a separate vertical of just herpes people.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is
Yeah.
it's like most likely most of these people might have it, or not
Yeah.
because they don't get laid, and that's why they're paying you. But
You're giving him a souvenir.
Yeah.
The
Something to
the
remember you
take-home
by.
glass from the
Yeah.
comedy club.
I don't know.
The souvenir glass.
But is it sad that I just considered it to be like, well, now you have this money making option.
Would you be a prostitute as well?
Yeah, Molly, would you? What would you do?
It wasn't. Hey, Molly, what would your option be?
Well, listen, I can't sing. I can't play an instrument. I don't know what I would do on the subway begging for money. I'm not going to tell jokes.
I mean, yeah, I feel like that's kind of all I got. Maybe I'd try and sell drugs.
Like how neither
feel
of
like
you
you'd
went
meet
back
a
to
lot of
just
cool people.
coaching
See,
basketball.
drugs. The drug game is more terrifying to me than the hooker game.
I feel like I don't know.
I've considered getting into well, I've unsuccessfully gotten into that game a time or two. I have a record to show it.
I don't know what I would do. I guess like I don't know. I do know guys though who will go to jail in the winter. They'll be like, it's a place to stay and you get back.
They don't go south. They go to
They'll be
jail.
like they'll
For the
commit like a
winter.
petty crime that'll get them put away for like 3 or 4 months.
What the hell?
I don't think it's
That's
that
kinda
common, but I
brilliant.
knew a couple guys who've done that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think along the lines of criminals. Good to know.
I thought of a way to mail stuff in the same town for free, but technically it's a crime.
How do you mail
How?
stuff in the?
If you put your address as the address you're sending to, and then the return address is the address you want it to go, but you don't put a stamp on it, but you would have to put it in a mailbox that's like not right by your apartment because that would seem really sketchy.
You're
But
like
if it's
a
like from
better-
one part of New York City to another part of New York City, it might work. But
Wouldn't it-
technically,
wouldn't it-
technically, it's a
We should
federal
try
offense.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if like you did go on Shark Tank for something and
That's
like,
my idea.
And like you like pitch something and they're like, have you been doing this? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, that's a federal crime. And then like they cuff you and
Yeah.
take you out.
Next
I
thing
mean,
you know,
it'd be
you're-
a hell of an episode.
You're just next to the Unabomber in prison.
Yeah.
Mail crime?
Yeah, I committed mail fraud.
It's so sad. She's got nothing but brilliant ideas. They're all just illegal.
I don't
I'm just
have-
saying you could save money on your Christmas cards this year. Just want to let the fans know.
If they go to jail for Christmas, they should send a Christmas card each year from jail.
Well, the way to do it is you just put the return address at the top.
Yeah, you're like, no, this meant to get sent to jail. They're
That is
picking it up
so
from
brill-
jail. They're
I mean,
like, I
I've
don't
never
think
even
so.
thought that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Isn't it great?
Robert Herjavec, do I have an idea for you? If you ever wonder, can I mail this for free?
Have you heard of email? Well, I have something even more free.
Did you guys go back last week for Thanksgiving with family?
We did.
Yeah.
Good or bad?
It was good. I
That's
was there
fine.
for like a week though.
Does your family smoke or edibles? I mean, I feel like my whole family was high this Thanksgiving.
No, just me and my brother do.
Oh, okay.
My dad's like very straight laced.
Does he know you guys like even as adults? Does he know that you guys do like smoke weed or anything like that, or does he?
We've started to like talk about it,
Yeah.
and he's just kind of like, ooh. Like,
Yeah.
what? So yeah,
I smoked a weed pen in front of her dad and her mom, but we were at a
Yeah.
bonfire, and I think they were just
They-
so drunk they didn't
They
notice.
have no idea. Definitely no
It's
idea.
become
doing with that
it's become
Sharpie?
so accepted in my family, the cannabis
so-
use.
Really?
My-
Mine will never be. I'm like,
you know what happened? My
Molly's
conservative grandfather now he's like in late 80s. He has a medical card, and I feel like him embracing that. Everyone knows I'm high all the time, so it became more of a topic. I think.
Yeah.
Not like my mom, dad love edibles.
Yeah, you get to a certain age where you just kind of realize like I'm a fucking grown up. You know what I mean? Like, because
I
I remember
haven't
one
gotten
time.
to that age.
Oh, my parents will never say that to me.
Edibles make me feel not like a grown up.
Well, we were
look at
like
those colors and objects.
we were home, and my brother and I were like smoking. I was smoking cigarettes at the time, and my dad was like,
Wow.
"Where are you guys going?" And my brother was like, "We were just like," he was just I had this moment of realization of like, I'm a grown man, and he was just like, "I'm going out for a cigarette," and my dad was like, "All right, what can I say to you?" You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you think it's like.
That was the one thing I hid from my parents. I smoked weed in front of them while I was still smoking cigarettes behind their back. That was the one thing I always hid from them.
Oh, really? My mom found my pen once, but not the attachment. Or she found the attachment, and first she found that, and I was able to pawn it off at like another comic because I drive comics in my car a lot. I was like, I probably fell out of the comics bag.
We're
And
so easy
then,
to blame comics.
And then at some point, the pen part fell out of my bag somewhere, and she found it.
Yeah.
And sent a picture to me. But my parents are very bad at confrontation too, so it was a weird. She sent it to me, and I texted my siblings. I was like, "Okay, would they be more mad about weed or cigarettes?" And they both were like, "Ooh, I don't know." Like I was just like, so I would just go, "Would it make you feel any better if it was weed?" And she was like, "I don't know why you're smoking anything." And she was like, "I'm gonna give you time to quit, so I don't have to tell your father." So I was
Weed's
like,
so much
Wow,
better
I'm
for
gonna give
you.
you time to quit, and
Yeah.
you're like an adult. Crazy.
I don't. I think
And,
it's
like,
just she
you're
didn't want to
addicted.
deal with my dad. Yeah, like I was so addicted.
I had a
I wasn't that
very-
addicted. I didn't even realize my pen was missing.
Yeah, your mom is like of the generation that was like marijuana, not even once. Like,
Yeah, my God.
you'll stab your little brother in the face. That
I
was,
love looking at some of those old anti-marijuana ads. Like some of them are so silly.
It
Yeah.
was hilarious.
I had a very weird. This was the one thing I actually did want to talk about. It was a situation that happened last week. We go down the shore every year for Thanksgiving. My aunt has a house, and then
Yeah.
we go down. There's a liquor store on the corner. It's like an hour from my house, so I go to the liquor store before I get there to buy White Claw, and I noticed that the girl, the cashier, I went when we were 17 to a mental institution together. we flirted.
Oh my God,
them.
it's like the holiday.
Yeah, and like we were like flirting happens a lot of mental institutions, especially the adolescent ones, because you're told you're not allowed to when you get in. So like we would slip each other our numbers when we got out and stuff. And
Yeah.
nothing ever came of it, but I didn't make
She
eye
recognized
contact
you?
with her. No, I made no eye contact. She looked at me for a second. That was long enough. And
Yeah.
I was like, she knows, so I'm just not gonna look at her because she had 3 employees next to her. That's a hard thing to be like, yeah, remember me from
yeah.
She just left you a note on the receipt.
remember when we had to go to fake school together in a mental institution and draw pictures?
Oh my God.
How you been? And so I thought it was very interesting.
You didn't. Did you?
My
did,
cousin, I made the mistake of telling my cousin, but when we walked in, I was like, this is a girl I went to a mental institution with. And like when we were at the checkout, he kept just looking at her being like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, fucking stop it, dude.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. That's like, there's no way to avoid the topic of where you met.
Yeah, I have a very hard time. Like, I think the comedian in me, like when I go to therapy very sparingly now, but like when I do, if I'm waiting for my therapist and like she's with another client, when the client comes out, it takes everything in my power to not look at them and be like, "You're crazy too," you know, just to ruin their day.
I don't know. It's crazy. Some people are just sad.
Yeah, which is like that's why I don't think I'm actually crazy, but it seems
That's the
so
difference with
funny.
a mental institution. We're crazy. That's when you get to the crazy. Like I saw some great shit there. I used to tell a joke about it where like the puzzle didn't have enough pieces. For some reason, none of them did in the mental institution. They would make us do them. And like I saw a girl throw a table because like SpongeBob was missing an eye. Like she finished the puzzle and was like, "Where the fuck is his eye?" And then took a table and threw
Yo, I'd
the
be mad.
table.
Yeah.
Puzzles take
I've never
forever.
been in a mental institution, but that seems fully logical outside of it too. To be
Yeah.
like, where the
I got
fuck
an
is the
extra
piece?
day there because I was talking athletics and they thought I was crazy. We had like a group therapy session. They were like, "Do you ever hit people?" And I was like, "Well, not really, but like if I'm pitching against a team and I don't like one of the players or they talk shit, I will hit the guy on purpose. I know how to plant it right on his neck to where it won't injure him, but it will hurt him pretty badly." And the nurse looked up. The nurse looks up and she goes, "You're really not well. You need to stay longer." And I was like, "It's a sport." I was like, "The guy walked across the mound. Of course I'm gonna hit him." And
I mean, I'm a
freaking
little
out
on the
in
nurse's
there.
side.
She thought it was the craziest
A
thing. Baseball
regular
players hit people
person
all the time.
would just be like, "I'm going to pitch this so fast that I strike him out and piss him off."
Well, that's a weird
You're like,
thing
"I'm just
about
gonna hit him."
baseball. Is like if the batter who makes out, you get the guy out when he's walking back to his dugout. If his spike touches the mound, if he runs across the pitcher's mound, it's unwritten rule that the next batter gets drilled. Or at least that's how I was an old school pitcher. I like doing that. The only reason I
What?
didn't throw
I played softball. I didn't know shit about this.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like baseball
I
players are
even
very
pitched.
petty. Like if people do wrong again, like
this is what happens when you don't let men do contact sports. They're like, the spike touched the mound.
Anything become
you take it out on the next person.
It pisses me off because like now you'll see when a pitcher gives up a big home run in the major leagues and the batter like flips the batter showboats, the pitcher freaks out on that batter. But it's like, you did your job poorly and he beat you. He should be able to party like that.
Baseball has never sounded more like horseback riding in my life.
Baseball's a weird sport. Yeah. I love it because you could do
her
it
belt
high.
had sparkles, disqualified. Did some flashy shit. That's not allowed.
It was the only sport I could do stone. That's why I loved it. And I didn't even love it.
I'm fully on this nurse's side. Some kid said that. Like he's been here. We're like, we're making progress. He's like,
common thing.
Yeah, I peg people on purpose with a 90-mile-an-hour fastball.
There's so much liability. Like she lets you go, and then she opens a newspaper like a few months later, and is like,
yeah, but that's a normal thing on the
because he got hit in the neck because
he went for his spine.
Yeah,
it's a normal.
Because I wouldn't say crazy. I just would be like, you clearly have some anger issues still.
I don't even think it was like I remember one game I threw a no-hitter, and the only reason it wasn't a perfect game was because that day I looked on my phone during biology class and saw the leadoff hitter on the team we were playing, like the other high school, like tweeted some shit about me. So to start the game, I fucking lit him up, and I threw a perfect game after
Did
that.
your high school team have a winning record?
I blew out my arm pretty quick into
I wonder how you blew out your arm.
Maybe
Maybe it was pitching incorrectly at people.
We were a good baseball team. Yeah. You gotta, because when you don't throw that hard, like at that point I wasn't throwing that hard, so you need to back them off the plate a little bit. And if they're not scared of how hard you're throwing, they have to know that you might hit them.
I need another baseball person to co-sign everything you're saying because I feel like you're not going to convince me.
I also was an illegal
just
pitcher.
you.
Like I used pine tar. I would cut the laces and shit. Like I was filthy.
So you're cheating.
I was a,
I would hate
cheater
you because I was such a I never cheated on a test. I never cheated in athletics.
As he goes like more and more down the list,
yeah,
like it's.
Oh yeah, I was a cheater. But I was.
And then you're like, this
cheater.
bitch gave me an extra day.
I kept the pine tar on my belt because umpires would never touch the groin area of an adolescent, so I kept pine tar on my belt. And I would keep petroleum jelly on the back of my knee.
Well, I think that just means you lived in a good area, but sure.
No, this is still up on.
This is
2011, so coaches they were just getting scared of touching kids.
Okay, this is what you have a right to be mad about. I'll throw this in. Playing softball, baseball, whatever, especially softball, which like you cannot pitch as fast underhand, right? When a pitch would not specifically be going at the player on purpose, and when people would do that, like. And just get hit by it. I was like, oh, you didn't even try to get out of the way. I was like, that's some horse shit. I was like, you did that. That drove me crazy.
Right.
Did
so
you
that
ever
person
hit anyone
deserves
on purpose in basketball?
No, I would never hit
Oh.
first. Sometimes in the post you get shoved a little, you shove back. But then in women's sports they'll be like double
you
foul.
You have the ability to shove each other. You could like kind of take the aggression out. Baseball, the only way to take your aggression out is in illegal ways.
No, but women they like
hitting the person.
They cut that stuff quick.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're always like ladies.
Since I was smaller, I would hit people, and then they
on the
wouldn't
court you would
see
hit
it.
people.
Yeah, like with my shoulder or something, or like when they were going up for like layup, I would like nail them, and they
you do that
just
early
get
in
right
the
at
game.
that.
You rattle them for the rest
That's
of the
smart.
game.
Yeah, they didn't do it again.
When they're off their feet, you hit them so they throw off their balance.
Yeah,
more.
I only got 2 or 3 intentionals my senior year.
My senior year, 1 year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh man, I remember a little point guard once shoved me. Like we were in a jump ball for the ball, and then the whistle blew, and then she like gave me a shove with 2 hands. But my dad was my coach, and he was literally right on the sideline. He was like, "Nope, nope," and I was like, and he was like, "She's small, Erica. You can't like," because I was always so much bigger than people. So it was very like I can't throw the first punch, and then if some little one does, it's like, wow. You can't.
You get away with a lot being small in
I
basketball.
always, my fantasy was to get in a fist fight on the basketball court. Though.
I got punched on the basketball court once.
I never
was in
did.
a
I
fist
was like,
fight.
someone
It was
just punched
awesome.
me first. I'm so down.
You were in a full like brawl or just
No, so she punched me. I was grabbing her jersey because she was running me off a pick, and I was a step behind her. I wasn't paying attention, and so I grabbed her shirt and pulled her back, and she turned and punched me in the arm.
Whoa.
And I just go, "Bitch, do it again." And she just like backed up, and we won that game by a lot.
And
after
she didn't
that.
do it again.
She didn't touch
What if
me
she
after
just
that.
did it again? And
Yeah,
you're like,
and then because then it would have been in front of everybody, and I couldn't have nailed her.
right.
Oh damn.
I got in a fight on the base. We were playing a team from Staten Island. This was in the summer, so it wasn't high school anymore. And weirdly enough, my uncle was like a legendary Staten Island high school baseball coach, and we didn't know this. They didn't know that I was his grandson, or whatever the fuck I'm his, whatever you are. I don't know words, nephew shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're getting into fights. The bench is yelling at me while I'm pitching. The other team's making fun of me while I'm on the mound. And I step off and I say, if you say another word, this poor kid who's at the plate is going to get hit. I said, there's no way around it. You open your mouth again, I'm going to hit him. So then they said another word. The umpire warned both the benches. And then I stand on the mound, drill the kid. The umpire comes out to throw me out. And I go, dude, it fucking slipped. I'm like, it's humid out. It's just a bad coincidence. And he goes, you are throwing a good game, man. I'll let it slide.
Oh
and then
my
Even though you
God.
told him, I
Yeah,
will hit the next
I
person.
said I was going to hit him.
And then
I
immediately
hit
took it
him.
back.
Yeah, and then the next inning, my catcher hit a double, turned back and like said something to the catcher, and then they started fighting. Then it actually turned into a fight. And then while we're walking back to the car after the whole game ends, the guy goes, "Are you Al Lamort's, like, you were related to Al Lamort?" I'm like, "Yeah, he was like a legendary Tauntonville baseball coach." And I was like, they're like, "Oh, we're not even mad at you." Like, it makes sense. It
You
just
got
happened
hit
on
by
the field.
legendary Al Lamort's kid.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
Oh.
Totally settle out.
Yeah, I like a good fight.
Yeah, it's fun.
I don't win a lot.
I've never been in a fist fight.
I've always wanted to like get in a good one.
Yeah.
I've been in a couple
Just
on
once.
both
Never
sides.
happened.
Both sides honestly have their moment. There's a fun moment to getting knocked out, I think.
I've never really punched somebody
I wanted
or
to
gotten
too.
punched.
I almost started one at the stand recently.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
no, that wasn't you starting it.
Yeah,
those
that
women.
was I started.
There was a woman that was drunk off her ass, and they were just standing waiting to get a drink. Her and two friends.
Yeah.
And what'd she say? Something about perfume? Like she was like,
yeah.
she's like, "Oh, your perfumes are too strong. You need to move." And they're like, "We're just getting a drink." And they
Yeah.
generally were not even in this woman's space or bothering her.
Perfume?
And she was
Yeah.
clearly wasted.
Yeah.
But
And
then, so she was like she said one more thing, and the bartender came up. He had like gotten our drinks, and then you asked for like a ginger ale or something because you were working. And I was like, "Can I get a ginger ale?" And then I looked at the girl and I was like, "And do you do shots of dog shit?" And that's why I like stepped away, and she just grabbed my friend who didn't know what happened.
No,
and then-
before that, he put your drinks down that he made.
Well, so when
and she
s-
grabbed.
that was after I asked for a
No,
shot
I know,
of
but
dog
before,
shit.
before she actually got into physical altercation with
Yeah.
the girl, she immediately grabbed one of the drinks he put down, took a sip of it, and slammed it down.
Yeah,
Oh.
and I
Just
looked
to
at the
be a
bartender.
dick?
I was like,
I
I'm
love
not gonna pay for that.
Dog.
Yeah.
That's
I was like, I don't
amazing.
know her.
And so they told on her. They were like, this woman just is taking sips of her drink and da-da-da and all this stuff. And
And
then...
Yeah, and then I
That's
asked for
amazing.
the shot.
You're free to continue.
And then so I moved out of the way because I was like, oh, this is not gonna be good. And then she grabbed my friend who was like in a fighting mood, and
Yeah.
then it almost got real. And I was like, oh god.
Yeah, I grabbed your friend's jacket and pulled
Yeah.
her out of there. I was like, nope, 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 nope.
And I
Not
just like
when
That's
backed
too
away.
real. There are
Which I was a little
sometimes
bummed.
it's
I was like,
too
if this
real.
was not in a comedy club, I would be
Yeah.
so down to throw
Right?
down in
Yeah.
this fight. But it also was something that this woman was old. Not crazy old, but it's like,
Yeah.
we're what? Not even 30 yet. And she was definitely like 50.
And
it
as
was
a
just
comic,
like,
Yeah.
this is,
you end
we
up-
would murder this woman.
You end up
Yeah.
as a comic, like, I'm not going to, it might hurt my booking
And it was-
if I get into
Yeah.
a fight in the
And then
club.
Wasn't the other girl an athlete too? A collegiate athlete?
Yeah.
Like, it was like, you
Yeah.
got 3 collegiate athletes ready to rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you punch like a 50-year-old woman and she has like a heart attack and now like,
Yeah.
you're going to jail and you're like, was
We
it worth
would
it?
have murdered her. She was embarrassingly drunk.
Man.
She said she
and
had
if she
just
went up
gotten
for a
divorced
layup,
that
Molly
day.
would have lit her up.
Yeah.
I was like, she even
Yeah.
lifts that arm.
Come
She's
see me on
getting
the
nailed.
basketball court. The lady's
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about?
It was just sad, man. You see people
Yeah.
that are that old, that drunk in public, you're
Yeah.
like, this is sad.
Yeah,
It's
she got
amazing.
kicked out though, which is
Yeah,
kind of awesome.
that's why I
It
was
is
like,
nice
this,
to get
the
kicked
stand
out.
was already kind of watching her like, this woman's not good.
Yeah.
And that's basically, I was like, okay, let's keep them on our side.
Yeah.
I want to work this club.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't ruin this.
I felt bad because we had just had the conversation. You were like, "Oh man, like I really want to work this club," and like, so you had like one person who like gave someone a hostess or something a hard time like
Oh,
a couple
yeah.
weeks before, and we had been like having this conversation on the train. I was like, "Oh, that girl sucks! Like that's so
Yeah.
rude," and I was like almost gonna fist fight in the bar. I was like, "God damn it,
Yeah,
Molly!"
but,
like,
That's
you
why
had one job.
I wouldn't have intervened or grabbed your friend, but I was like, nope.
Yeah.
This makes me look bad.
yeah.
At a bar show one time, I hit a heckler, and I still think it was the only cool. I don't think comedy is that cool. The only cool thing I've ever done in comedy is the heckler came up to me, I hit him, got him down, and then I picked him up and turned to the owner of the bar and said, "You mind if I bounce him?" I think that was the
Yeah.
coolest thing I ever said in my life.
That is pretty
I
cool.
holding him by the neck. I'm like, "Mind if I bounce him?" All I
I
had
have-
to do was just.
I thought you were gonna do like a really shitty like Arnold Schwarzenegger
I have-
like pun line. You're
No,
like
no.
you're bombing as you throw him out or
No.
something. Shitty
And then he
like
ended
that.
up turns out the guy was coming
That's
up to me to apologize to me. When he turned me on the shoulder, I turned
Oh.
around and put his head into the wall.
Oh, you didn't even let him speak.
Oh.
No, but he was.
He was like, gonna look
to
quick
be-
to jump the gun.
To be honest, the type of
But I have
heckling
a-
he did was he put his seat on the stage and then
What?
sat in the seat while I was on stage.
Is this an
Why?
LOL?
No, this was at the Pear.
Oh, it's
Back
like that would
old
happen at
school
LOL
Pear
or the
days,
Pear.
when the
Or-
Pear still
yeah.
had garbage in the showroom.
The one and the same. That would
Yeah.
happen at those places.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's no one. No
You-
one's policing that room
Exactly.
whatsoever. I have a heckler fantasy actually. I know we probably have to wrap up this podcast sometime,
Yeah.
but you just made me realize I was like, man, I
no,
do have some
we'll
fighting
close it
bone.
on. We'll close it on the heckler.
I have a
fantasy.
heckler fantasy of a man. I don't know why a man, but a man is so mad at me. For, I don't know why, but throws a glass at me, and I immediately catch it with my left hand. I have visualized this. like throws, like especially because I hold the mic with my left hand typically. So my fantasy is like I real quick switch to the right hand, catch it with my left hand.
Holding it like you're grabbing it like this.
Like I catch it like you would with a mitt,
catch it,
you know.
Like you would.
You know, baseball. It goes here.
No, but like, are you trying to catch it standing up?
Well, it's just the point is I catch it flawlessly.
Yeah.
That's like, wow, this girl's very athletic. Okay, that's the first part.
And you drink it.
No, it's an empty glass. It would be empty by that point. No, but I catch it and then like I put it in my right hand and I'm like, dude. And so first of all, the glass gets thrown over here. And so my first comeback would be like, buddy, I'm standing over here. So I'd be like, first of all, you threw terrible.
You have the lines
And then
already.
I did in my brain.
That crushes.
And then I switch my right hand and I'm like being all cool and like, haha, whatever. And then when he goes to get thrown out, I throw it and it nails him right in the dick. And I'm just like, yeah, that's how you fucking aim.
Wouldn't he be with his back to you and he's getting taken out? Or is he fighting?
Well, just the point.
Yeah.
The point is, I not only catch a glass, but then I throw it accurately right back at him, and everyone's on my side. And it's like, yeah.
Dave
And then I'm like,
Chappelle's-
did you listen to my act? I'm an athlete.
Yeah.
Did you think my dad didn't teach me how to throw?
Dave Chappelle's in the back of the room. He comes up, asks me to open for
Then
him.
I open for Dave Chappelle.
I love that you know which side it's getting thrown to and what line you're saying. It's amazing.
I hope someone throws a glass at your right side sometime.
It's like expectation,
backhand.
expectation versus
Yeah,
reality.
I could right
You
hand.
gotta hand it back. You throw
It's
it
just,
again, sir.
it's
Other
just
side.
that was the thing to me. They'd go, man, she really is an athlete. She catches with her left hand.
That was the reason.
Well, because
That
I would
makes
throw
it
the
even
mic
funnier.
into my other hand, so conveniently. I got instincts, okay? I got good instincts.
I'd love to
Let
see
me have this.
Reflexes.
I'd love to see the expectation versus reality where like he spikes it at you, it smashes on your hand,
Yeah.
and you're like, I'm over here, and
I just
everyone's
get
like,
wet. That's
yeah.
the reality. I'm like, oh.
It's like, are you okay, Erica?
That was.
I'm just gonna start throwing glasses at you.
Don't
That
you
was.
dare.
Well, that was so
But
good.
I don't know why.
is your
I don't know
fantasy.
why, but it is a fantasy.
I love that so much.
And then all the comics would just talk about how athletic I am. That's all I want.
I'll tell people
Everyone
anyway.
was
like,
impressed. Erica caught a glass.
I'm gonna tell people that
That's gonna blow
story
up. That's, comedian destroys.
Imagine having that on tape.
Comedian throws glass at hecklers.
Let's get Steve. Let's give Steve Hofstetter a call. We'll figure it out.
I'm gonna start telling people about that now. Like, you hear about Erica?
Throw a glass at her. She wants it.
Hypothetically, she caught a glass.
Let's just start that. That happened.
Yeah.
It's a true story.
All right. Well, you guys should promote your pod. What do you guys got? The links, the promotion.
Oh, yeah. We're Shooters Gotta Shoot Pod on Instagram, and just look up Shooters Gotta Shoot.
It is very funny. I don't listen to many. I have listened to. Jack told me he listens to it, and he said it's funny. Listen.
Thank
and
you.
I listened to
Thanks.
episode 6 on the way in today, and I loved it.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very
I
much.
seriously like. I
You guys have
honestly
such good
don't
banter.
listen to like I said. Same as him. I don't really listen to a lot. But as soon if like a friend has one come out, I'll listen to it, and I like consistently listen to you guys. It's
Hell
very
yeah,
funny.
thank you.
Yeah.
We listened to yours, guys, as well. We did. We generally did.
Okay.
We wanted to know what we were getting into.
Yeah. Well, you guys
But,
should have known that to bring your own tomato
yeah.
sauce.
Yeah.
Ours come out every Thursday.
Yeah.
Every Thursday
Yeah.
we have a new episode.
Promote
So-
your personal socials or anything.
and
like
I'm
that.
at Spera.
I'm at the guacamole.
That's right. I love that. All right, guys. Thanks for coming
Well,
on.
well, we're the Aisle Boys.
Yeah, we are.
That's
we
our,
are.
oh wait, no, that's our Twitter, Aisle Boys, and then everything else is in the aisle.
Yep.
And that's our podcast name. Leave a review. 2 days. As we're recording this, the podcast has been out for 2 days, and we're at 107 reviews. So keep leaving them, please.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Bye. This
Bye.
has been in the aisle.
Bye.